This is a video podcast of lifechurch.tv.
Well, welcome out to week number 1 of our podcast for the series Mind Your Own Business here at lifechurch.tv. This is such an important series for us all as we learn to manage that which God has entrusted to us in our resources. And this podcast is an effort to, supplement the teaching. It's already great teaching that we're getting on the weekend and provide with even more information about how you can be a great steward and manager of the business that God has given you. Man, I'm pleased to say that today we have with us our senior pastor, Craig Groeschel, who is going to elaborate a little bit and talk to us about some of the different questions that we've had with the Mind Your Own Business series. People are so interested in this, and I know, there's been a lot of great questions brought in through the website, and we're just going to knock off and hit a couple of these questions here. And Craig, one of the things, I've been with you on staff 8 years, and you've spoke a lot of different things, but one of the things that just sticks out that you're so passionate about is finances. Could you talk a little bit about why God's placed that passion inside of you?
Yeah, it goes back really, Sam, to when I was a kid. I had a really dramatic moment on the porch with my grandma. And we were out, when I was a little kid, we were counting cars before she made me pickles, homemade pickles, Grandma's famous pickles. And so cars were going by. I was a little kid, 5 or 6 years old, but I remember this. She said, she grew up in the Depression time, and she said, Craig, one day the whole economy may fall apart again, and you need to be ready for it. And the wrong motivation I had early on with finances was fear, but I was always afraid that was going to happen. In my young, impressionable mind, I just believed there'd be a day where, we might not be able to eat. And so I was driven early on with this fear of we can't be in debt. Years later, when I became a Christ follower, I started to read really Scripture, and the Scriptures that talked about wisely managing God's resources just jumped all over me. And I became very, very, very passionate about this. When Amy and I married, I was 23 and she was 20, and we were in ministry together. Our total salary was $12,000 a year. And so we didn't have a lot, and we just agreed that we were going to live on what we made and no more. And our goal was to become completely debt-free. So in the future, if God called us to do something, then we could do it, and not have to say, well, how much are we going to get paid? And so money wouldn't be an issue. And so one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this is I think that today's generation, your age, you're like, 40 years younger than me or something? Sam just hit puberty. This isn't even a real beard.
If you notice, though, Craig's not moving very well lately. You see some of the videos. He's, it's not so easy whenever you fall and you can't get up anymore.
Yeah, I did have an injury that I'm considering filing a workers' comp claim. Yeah, whatever. So, but anyway, today's generation, they grow up, 25-year-old. Most of them think I deserve the same lifestyle as my parents, who took 30 years to build. Yeah. And the truth is, they're going for it and they're using debt to get it. Then they're not able to give. They fight about money. There's this tension that sticks with them for years and years, and they're in bondage. I think one of God's calls on my life is to help people be out of bondage, to be free, to not let money be something that we're afraid about, we're not freaking out. And I want to see people free to give to the work of God, to give to people who are in need, and to be free, not in bondage.
That's awesome. And like you said, it's amazing how now credit cards are the offers, and the ability to get into debt is so easily available. The other day, I got in the mail, believe it or not, a credit card offer to my 1-year-old. It came to Benjamin.
No
yes,
way.
It came to Ben. And Ben got a credit card offer, and I just looked, I just told my wife, I said, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable. Well, one of the things that's been most impactful for Jamie, my wife, and I have been that, we began to see the things that God has given us as our business that God has given us. And that's been a radical teaching thing that's transformed our minds in the way that we are not only stewards over the debt and the things that God's placed us, not to get into debt, but to manage how we spend those resources and really be prayerful about everything and really see it as God. So, that's such a different perspective for people, and you talked about that in this weekend's message. Could you talk a little bit about, that being our business and God's given us a business?
Yeah, there's a couple parables in Scripture where it becomes very, very obvious that God owns everything, and then we're the stewards or we're the managers. And very literally, God trusts us to manage what belongs to Him and to use it for His glory. The problem is, a lot of times we think it belongs to us. I mean, we really do. This is my house, this is my money, my income, and it's not as His. But He loves us and He trusts us to manage it. So the way I'm trying to help people see is that you're really managing a business for God. And if you see your personal finances as a small business, and studies show the number one reason small businesses fail is because they don't have a plan. Well, number one reason why people are in debt and in bondage is because there's no plan. And so we're very simply going to take the Bible, apply very simple biblical principles to making a plan so that we can be free. God has given you a business, your personal finances. He wants you to manage His resources for His glory and not just for our own selfish use.
That reminds me of a great quote I heard one time from this awesome pastor. It said that, man, everybody ends up somewhere, but not very many people end up somewhere on purpose. You got to get somewhere on purpose. And actually, if you know, that came out of Craig's book, Kazone, which, man, we'll talk a little bit about here in just a second. One of the things that we hit this week is from Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7, where the Bible teaches that the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. Man, could you expound a little bit on that?
Yeah, the rich part, the word servant, comes from the Hebrew word ebed, and its really best translation is a slave, or it means the word bondage. We're a servant to those that we owe. And I think the way this would apply is if you've ever maybe felt like in your own life, there's something that I'd like to do, but I can't do it because I'm financially limited, that'd be bondage. For example, maybe you feel like I want to get married to this person, but I can't afford it. That's bondage. Or when we're married now, we'd like to start our family, but we can't afford it. Bondage. I'd like to go on this mission trip to help these people who are in need, but a mission trip costs $800. I can't afford it. It's bondage. And so I want people to see the truth. Businesses have been marketing debt for years and years and years, and trying to get us, the consumer, to feel good about bondage. We shouldn't feel good about it. We should hate it, get angry about it. And so I'm really trying to instill in our people the emotion of anger, because emotion motivates, emotion moves. Fear is not going to help. Worry is not going to help. Anger is going to help. Get mad that the devil's pulled the wool over your eyes and has tricked you into being in bondage.
Yeah. I don't know the last time I've been inside of Target or something. They don't say, would you like to save 20% today? And I'm always like, no, I don't want to save 20% today, unless you got something other than a credit card offer you're going to bring to me. One of the things that just sticks out to me is many of the things, you said this once in a message, you talked about many of the things that we think we can't live without are things that didn't even exist 5-6 years ago. Right. iPods, wireless networks, and that Starbucks that opened up just down the street that's charging you, some people call it $5 or whatever. And I know they've gotten plenty of my money.